Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and last week there was a lot of information coming out about the upcoming iPhone, and of course iOS 14.5 Beta 5 and iOS 14.4.2 launched as well. I had separate videos on those, but let's talk about all of the different things coming out or things that have launched. And so this is your news update for the week of March 28th, 2021. And the first thing is, if you use Apple Maps, you may have the availability of speed cameras in new locations and new countries. So if you go into Maps, and maybe you're in Europe or New Zealand, for example, different locations now have access to speed cameras. The Netherlands, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Sweden, and New Zealand all should be seeing these or start seeing the speed cameras depending on where you live. They should start showing up in Apple Maps. Some people have seen these, some have not, so it may take some time to show up, but you should start seeing them soon. Now, the next thing is with Apple Music. Apple has partnered with Warner Music and Accenture Interactive's Rothko to bring new Say-List playlists. These playlists are to help people that have speech sound disorder, or SSD, and they contain tracks that can help by teaching those with SSD to repeat challenging words, syllables, and phrases, and basically help them speak more naturally over time. So this is just a way to help people out, and you could think of this as an accessibility feature that's just brought to Apple. Go into search, or brought to Apple Music. Go into search for Say-List, and you'll see these playlists. There's quite a few of them as well. Now, Apple is starting to implement even tighter security control at their factories to help prevent leaks. There's been a lot of leaks this year, whether you're talking about iPhone leaks or AirPods or anything we're going to talk about today, but Apple is trying to really stop a lot of those leaks. It spoils a lot of it, of course, and some of it is just we want to know what's coming out, of course, and then some people are leaking that and some shouldn't be. So Apple is trying to figure out exactly where they're coming from and put an end to those. And so we may see less leaks. It's hard to say. So far, we haven't. Now, the first thing is with iPhone 13. iPhone 13 is expected this year in September. Just like every year, we have a new launch around September. And for many people, this will be an exciting thing because Apple has apparently shrunk the notch. This is thanks to a Greek repair provider, iRepair, that leaked some front cover glass pieces to Mac rumors. And so they came in 5.4-inch, 6.1, and 6.7-inch display sizes, which line up with what we have today. And as you can see, the notch is a little bit smaller. It's a little less small horizontally instead of vertically. We thought maybe it'd be pushed back into the bezel more, but it seems like it's a little bit narrower now based on what this glass looks like. So we should see this in the upcoming iPhones with a smaller Face ID module. They haven't been able to eliminate it completely, but it looks like it's going to get smaller. Now, of course, we're going to have a 120 hertz display. That's pretty much a given at this point, with an always-on display as well, according to Max Weinbeck and Everything Apple Pro. And so according to them, we should see that, as well as a new matte black option for the iPhone. So we could see a new matte black that looks similar to graphite, but it has more of the iPhone 5 style dark color to it, which is something I really like. Now, it could be similar to the iPhone 5 or even darker, and as you can see here, it has chipped over time, but this is the dark or flat black color on iPhone 5, and this was one of my favorites. Hopefully we see something like this soon, and as you can see, this is what it would look like thanks to some renders by Ian, and so this looks really nice. Hopefully we see that with the next iPhone. Also, the sides are said to adopt a new anti-smudge coating. Now, on the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, we have this nice glossy stainless steel, but it shows a lot of smudges and fingerprints if you use this day to day. You can see I haven't cleaned this off, and you can see smudges all over it. And so it's just sort of naturally when you're holding on to it, not using a case, you'll see those, and hopefully they'll be able to eliminate those with some future changes to maybe a coating like you have on the iPhone's display, an oleophobic coating, something like that. Now, the back is also said to have a smaller camera bump. We've heard this before, but it seems like we're going to have a slightly different camera arrangement and a smaller camera bump. So the one on the 12 Pro Max, for example, here is quite prominent. It sticks out a bit. It could be more of a flat glass look to it, maybe be easier to manufacture, and have some different lenses in it as well. So it's said to look slightly different. We've heard this from quite a few different sources, so it seems like this is very likely. And then also Apple is said to be focusing on battery as well with the next iPhone. So we would have the next iPhone chipset that would also be more efficient, maybe the A15, for example, but a larger battery that would take up maybe the same amount of space, maybe it's more dense, or maybe it's just larger overall. But either way, it would be able to provide the phone with even more battery life, which I know a lot of people would really enjoy. So hopefully we'll see something like that, and we'll have to wait and see, but it's said to be some of their focus this year. Now, the next thing is AirPods, and we've heard a lot about AirPods, and there's a lot of conflicting information going back and forth. For example, Ming Chi Kuo, or Kuo Ming Chi, depending on how you want to say it, says that the new AirPods are said to launch in the third quarter of 2021, since they're manufacturing around the third or quarter or so. Maybe they won't launch until the fourth quarter, but prior to this, it was thought that we'd see the new AirPods very soon. Now, there's said to be AirPods 3 and AirPods Pro 2. So maybe we'll see AirPods 3 soon and the Pro later, or maybe we won't see anything at all. But there's so many conflicting reports right now, it's hard to say, and they're up in the air. But I did want to show you one service that I got to use recently. This is not an advertisement, but I wanted to talk about it quickly, and that's PodSwap. PodSwap is a new service that you can swap your AirPods to, and these are my old AirPods. They're kind of gross, and they don't work anymore. The battery lasts about 20 minutes if you're lucky, and what PodSwap does is for about $60 or so, they swap out the battery and send you new ones that have been fully cleaned. So they're just like these, just refurbished with a new battery, for about $60, and then they give you a prepaid shipping package to ship them back. So you're recycling your AirPods, and yes, you could buy a new pair and throw these out, but at least you can extend the life of these for at least the same life you had before with the original battery. They swap them out, and as you can see, they don't look any different in the pictures I took. So they're not any different whatsoever. So I thought it was a nice service since those AirPods were just sitting around at my house. I don't really like to throw away those sorts of things. Now I can just have new AirPods or refurbished AirPods that have been fully cleaned and have new batteries. So I thought I'd mention that, and it's a newer startup that I thought was really useful. Since Apple doesn't offer that, PodSwap offers it, and so I thought I'd mention it. But let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Also, iOS 14.5 release candidate and its final release should be coming hopefully within a couple weeks. Now, there's conflicting information here as well as to whether or not we'll see Beta 6 tomorrow on the 30th. Many people are saying we'll see Beta 6 tomorrow, or we could see the release candidate. There's also more information saying to expect an Apple invite as soon as tomorrow for an event in April. If we do see an Apple event, then we can expect the release candidate tomorrow and a final release of iOS 14.5 around the 6th of April. If we don't, we could expect maybe Beta 6th, then a release candidate, then a final release the following week. So I think we're a couple weeks out at this point from a final release, but we definitely should see something either Tuesday or Wednesday of this week based on what we've been seeing in the past couple of weeks now. Now, as far as WWDC, we still haven't had any invitations. Normally they go out in the mid of March, and so far we haven't had the Worldwide Developer Conference 2021 invitations or even an announcement about the event. So at this point, maybe we're going to see something different this year since we will have another virtual event, it seems, or maybe we won't. But generally that's in June, and then we'll see iOS 15 and the next version of macOS, which were both recently referenced in WebKit code. WebKit is the code behind Safari on your phone, and both iOS 15 and macOS 12 were referenced in that code. So they are working on it, of course. When we see it is hard to say, but again, look for iOS 14.5 within the next couple weeks, at least released to the public based on what it looks like they're doing. We're very final based on how the overall use of it is. It's performing well. I've had no issues, so I really think we'll see it fairly soon. Apple's working on the next generation MacBooks. As we all know, it should have some new ports, maybe HDMI, maybe SD card readers. I've talked about that before, but with upcoming MacBooks, patently Apple has found that Apple is working on deployable feet to help with cooling. Now, the current MacBooks with Apple Silicon in them, such as the M1 MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, barely require any cooling at all. In fact, the MacBook Air doesn't even have a fan. The MacBook Pro does have one, and it doesn't even get that warm. But Apple is working on deployable feet apparently to help maybe raise this up a little bit based on these patents, where these feet could push out and give more clearance to the bottom of the MacBook, making sure that it stays cool all of the time if you're doing intensive tasks. So that references maybe future Macs with Apple Silicon that is much more powerful and generates more heat. Right now, it's not really necessary, but future versions definitely could. But it's a very elegant solution where they would push out with a lever mechanism, where I think that would make a lot of sense for Apple to keep a similar design, but just be able to raise the Mac up a little bit. Also, macOS 11.3 Beta 5 references two unreleased iMacs. The upcoming iMac is said to look like the Pro Display XDR, as I've talked about before, but there's new code that references iMac 21,1 and iMac 21,2. According to Mark Gurman, the new Macs have the code name J456 and J457. So Apple's actively working on them, and we're just waiting to see them at this point. Now, also Mark Gurman has said that Apple is working on a more ruggedized version of the Apple Watch that instead of having a titanium casing or metal casing like this one, it would have more of a rubberized casing, where if you're using it in extreme environments, it would be more practical. So you could have it to maybe go hiking with and not worry about, or maybe you're swimming and scuba diving and you don't want to worry about it. It would maybe be able to go deeper and also just be more rugged in general. So we could see something like that. There's no date given, but it seems like Apple is actively working on that as well. Also, Mac Rumors found a patent showing that Apple is researching wraparound displays that could wrap into the band itself. So it could go from here all the way down into the band. And I just thought this was something a little bit different. We've seen these from other manufacturers, but Apple could be actively working on a touchscreen that wraps either partially or all the way around the band, according to a recent patent. Now, we've heard a lot about AirTags, and we've been waiting for them. And according to Everything Apple Pro and Max Weinbach, they've said that the upcoming AirTags will be slightly larger than a 50-cent coin and about 3 times as thick. That's fairly small. It gives it about the same size as a tile without the squared off edges, and makes sense. It has to house a battery and the chipset to do what it needs to do, so it can't be super small, but that's fairly small and makes a lot of sense. Maybe it will even fit on the Apple Watch charger, for example. Now, in iOS 14.5 or iPadOS 14.5 Beta 5 code, there's mention of an A14X CPU that we haven't seen yet. That could be for the next generation iPad that's supposed to have a mini LED display, for example. So we could see that very soon if we do have an Apple event soon as well. So hopefully we see that. And then finally, an Apple TV. Many people have been asking, when is the next Apple TV? It's been quite a long time since we've seen a new one. And tvOS 14.5 Beta 5 has removed any reference to the name Siri Remote and has replaced them with the name Apple TV Remote. Also, the previously named Home button has been renamed to TV button in the code as well. So all of these things hint at a future Apple TV. It's been a long time since we've had one of those. I would expect an update to an Apple TV soon. Many have said it's been ready to go for quite some time, and whether or not it takes an event for them to update it is hard to say, but right now it looks like they're referencing new hardware in the code anyway. So hopefully we see something new. It's getting a little bit slow. Mine is acting a little strange from time to time. So hopefully we see something new soon. And so that's it for all the news this past week. I'm looking really forward to a next iPhone, as well as iOS 14.5 launching. And then of course iOS 15, since that should have all of the new features in it, or whatever Apple's going to do next. Also, I'm looking forward to that new iMac, as the new M1 Macs are so fast, they've basically replaced my Mac Pro, so I'm looking forward to that. What are you looking most forward to? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.